Have you ever felt that tightness in your chest when someone threw something you did in the past in your face? That embarrassing moment when everything you've overcome, everything you've learned, everything you've achieved simply disappears, and you're treated as if you were still that person from years ago? It's as if, suddenly, all your evolution doesn't matter. As if you're trapped in an invisible cage, built not by your current choices, but by other people's judgments about who you used to be. And the worst part? The insecurity that follows, that annoying voice in your head asking if maybe they're right, if you've really changed, if you deserve to be seen differently. The uncomfortable truth is this: as long as you're reacting emotionally to the past that people are trying to use against you, as long as you're justifying yourself, explaining, begging to be understood, you're handing over your power on a silver platter. You're confirming that it still defines you, that those words still hurt you, that you haven't made peace with your own history. And people notice this. They feel when they've touched an open wound. But there's a completely different way to deal with this, an approach that transforms the attack into irrelevance, that converts your insecurity into unwavering dignity, that makes your past not a weakness, but a living demonstration of your transformative power. What you are about to discover is not superficial rhetorical techniques or ready-made phrases to use in arguments. It is something much deeper and more liberating. A philosophical path tested for centuries, which teaches you how to become unbreakable in the face of any attempt to diminish you using what you have already overcome. When you master this wisdom, something extraordinary happens. You stop fearing your past. You stop justifying yourself. You stop giving explanations to those who don't deserve them. And you begin to live with a serenity that disorients anyone who tries to attack you, because there is simply nowhere left to hurt you. Let's start with a direct question. How many times have you found yourself trapped in endless internal conversations, reliving past mistakes as if they were scenes from a movie you're forced to watch repeatedly? That's right, the past has this peculiar characteristic of wanting to be the protagonist of your current life, even when you've turned several pages since then. The central question here isn't whether you made mistakes, we all do, but whether you'll allow those mistakes to become a life sentence or whether you'll recognize them for what they truly are: the best teachers you've ever had. Every difficulty you faced, every wrong decision, every relationship that ended badly, all of the sculpted fundamental aspects of the person you are today. The problem arises when other people insist on seeing you through the blurred lenses of what you were, refusing to see the evolution that happened before their eyes. And why do they do this? Often because your transformation challenges them, bothers them, questions the comfort zone where they remain stagnant. Think of it this way. You're a butterfly that has emerged from its cocoon, but some people insist on calling you a caterpillar. They can't process that you've changed because, deep down, your evolution exposes their lack of movement. When you grow, learn, and overcome, you become an uncomfortable mirror for those who have remained in the same place. And do you know what happens when someone feels threatened by your evolution? They grab the only arsenal they have, your past. They try to reduce you to what you were because they have no arguments against who you've become. It's a desperate strategy when you stop to analyze it coldly. But here's the crucial point that separates those who truly understand Stoic wisdom from those who only know pretty quotes. Your past only becomes an effective weapon when you hand over the ammunition. When you react with insecurity, when you desperately try to prove you've changed, when you lose your composure, you are confirming that it still has power over you. You are saying, without words, that attack hit the mark. Now, imagine if instead you simply acknowledged your complete history, with all its shadows and imperfections, but without shame, without the weight that insecurity places on your shoulders. Imagine if you looked at your past mistakes with the same serenity that an experienced mountaineer looks at the mountains they have already climbed, recognizing each difficulty as an essential part of the learning process. This change of perspective is revolutionary. You cease to be a defendant defending yourself in an imaginary court and become someone who simply possesses your entire history. The ancient Stoics already knew this millennia ago. True power does not come from having a perfect past. It comes from having enough dignity not to bow before the judgment of others. When you understand that each mistake was a necessary lesson, that each stumble taught you where to tread more carefully, that each person who hurt you showed you the type of relationship you no longer want to accept, you transform your past from tormentor into ally. And it is precisely this transformation, this internal alchemy that converts lead into gold, that prepares you for the first powerful response that dismantles any attack. The first reaction of almost everyone when confronted with the past is to deny, minimize, or create a smokescreen with elaborate justifications. It's instinctive. Insecurity whispers in your ear that you need to defend yourself, that you need to make the other person understand the context, the mitigating circumstances, the reasons that led you to that choice. And so you enter a spiral of explanations that only weaken you, because each defensive word confirms that you still carry shame about it. But there is a radically different alternative, so simple that it seems almost impossible at first glance. Simply say, yes, this happened, and stop there. No buts, no howevers. No desperate need to contextualize everything. Just the raw and honest acceptance of your own history. When you do this, something extraordinary happens. You remove all the fuel that fed the attack. It's as if someone came with a lit torch wanting to set your house on fire and discovered that you had already removed all the flammable material. There is nothing to burn. There is no drama, no denial, no exposed emotional vulnerability. Just one acknowledged fact. I'll tell you why this approach is so powerful that it literally disarms anyone with malicious intent. Because whoever tries to use your past against you is anxiously waiting for your defensive reaction. They want to see you scrambling, explaining, sweating profusely trying to prove your worth. This feeds their ego, confirms that they still have control over their emotions. But when you respond with complete serenity, when you simply accept that yes, it was part of your journey, you completely break the script they had prepared in their heads. It's disconcerting for them. It's like delivering a checkmate in 2 moves when your opponent expected a long battle. The wisdom here lies in understanding that nothing can shame you when you've already made peace with yourself. Think of the people you admire most, those who radiate genuine confidence. They don't have perfect pasts. In fact, many have very complicated stories. The difference is that they've already processed everything, extracted the lessons, forgiven themselves where necessary, and moved on. For them, the past is just the past, not an open wound waiting to be poked. Now, the practical part. How do you cultivate this ability to accept without being shaken? First, understand that accepting isn't agreeing that everything was right. It's simply acknowledging that it happened and that you can't change it. It's letting go of the fantasy that if you explain everything perfectly, people will finally understand and absolve you. They don't need to absolve you. You're not in a courtroom. Second, start reshaping your relationship with your own scars. Every past mistake is a mark that you were in the arena, that you tried, that you lived. It's infinitely more dignified to have a history full of attempts, errors, and lessons learned than a blank page because you never risked anything. Third, practice this response in smaller situations first. The next time someone mentions something embarrassing from your past, even if it's something small, try simply agreeing without defensive energy. That's true. That happened. Observe how the conversation withers, how the power it had over you simply evaporates. Over time, this acceptance becomes natural, automatic, and you discover that your insecurity has been replaced by something far more valuable. The peace of mind of someone who has nothing to hide or prove. But accepting the past is only the first step. Because once you acknowledge your history without shame, you can do something even more transformative with it. You can extract the hidden gold from each difficult experience. You can articulate exactly what each stumble taught you. And that's precisely where the second response comes in, the one that not only disarms the attack but completely transforms the narrative in your favor. There's a huge difference between someone who carries the past as a heavy burden on their shoulders and someone who has transformed it into applicable wisdom. The first person lives bent over under the weight of their own experiences, always looking back with regret, always wondering, what if I had done things differently? The second person walks upright, looking forward, because they extracted valuable lessons from each difficult chapter and actively use them to build a better present. When you say, and I learned from it, you're not just acknowledging that something happened, you're declaring that that experience served you, that you are literally more capable, wiser, more prepared because of it. This completely changes the dynamic of the conversation. Whoever tried to attack you expected to see you shrinking, but instead they encounter someone who is saying, "Thank you for reminding me of this important lesson that shapes who I am today." It's an absolute game changer. Insecurity wants you to see your mistakes as permanent stains on your character, but Stoic wisdom teaches you to see them as the best investments in self-knowledge you've ever made. Let's be practical here. Take any significant mistake from your past and do this exercise. List 3 concrete things you learned from that experience. A relationship that ended badly? Perhaps you learned to identify signs of incompatibility earlier, to set clearer boundaries, to value your own company. A disastrous financial decision? You probably developed more caution with long-term commitments, learned to do better research before investing, and understood the importance of having emergency funds. A conflict you could have avoided? It may have taught you about the value of strategic silence, about choosing your battles, about when it's worth defending a point and when it's wiser to let it go. Every mistake carries within it seeds of evolution. The problem is that most people never stop to plant these seeds, to water these lessons, to let them grow into applied wisdom. They simply carry the raw, unprocessed mistake as if it were dead weight. But when you articulate what you've learned, when you can clearly say, "That taught me X, Y, and Z," you demonstrate real maturity, not that performative maturity that tries to impress others. And here's the detail that makes all the difference. When you affirm your learning, you shift the focus from what happened to who you've become. It's a subtle but profound narrative shift. The conversation stops being about your past and starts being about your growth trajectory. This is much more interesting, much more powerful, much more inspiring. People who have truly matured don't shy away from their own complicated stories. They tell them with the dignity of someone who knows that every scar has a purpose. Think about how many self-help books you've read where the author shares their biggest failures precisely because they were what allowed for their greatest subsequent successes. That's the template. Transforming every mistake into a credential, every failure into expertise. Now, this doesn't mean you need to go around telling your life story to everyone. It's not about making your past a public spectacle. It's about having the inner serenity to know that you extracted value from every difficult experience, and that when someone tries to diminish you using your past, you have the absolute clarity to respond that it was an essential stepping stone, not a definitive stumble. But there's more. Because sometimes the person doesn't give up. Sometimes they persist, prod, try again. And it's in those moments that you need a third response, one that goes straight to the heart of the matter and exposes the true intentions behind the attack. Here we enter a fascinating territory of human psychology. The behavior of someone who insists on throwing their past in your face rarely has anything to do with you, and almost always has to do with that person's own unresolved issues. When someone relives something you did years ago, something you've already overcome, processed, and left behind, there's always a hidden motive. It could be envy of your progress, it could be a desperate attempt to maintain control over you, it could simply be because they are so stuck in their own past that they can't accept that other people can move on. And the question, "Why are you bringing this up now?" acts like a surgical scalpel that cuts through all the layers of superficial justifications and goes straight to the true intention. It's not an aggressive question. It doesn't need to be asked with anger or accusation. On the contrary, it works best when asked with genuine curiosity, almost with serenity. Because when you question the intention without defending yourself, you're basically saying, "I've already made peace with it, so why haven't you?" The power of this question lies in how it acts like a mirror. Suddenly, whoever was trying to put you on the defensive is forced to explain their own motivations. And here's the interesting detail. Most of the time, they don't have a reasonable answer. Because the real answer would be something like, "I'm bringing this up because I feel insecure around your transformation," or "because I need to diminish you to feel better about myself," or "because I don't know how to deal with the fact that you overcame something I haven't yet overcome in my life." But of course, they won't admit that. So they stammer, trying to formulate some justification that sounds legitimate. And in this process of trying to explain the inexplicable, they reveal much more about themselves than about you. It's like suddenly turning on a light in a dark room. Much that was hidden suddenly becomes visible. And you, maintaining your dignity and calm, simply observe while the person exposes themselves. You don't need to attack back, you don't need to be sarcastic, you don't need to prove anything. The question itself has already done all the work. Now, let's talk about how to use this in practice without falling into the trap of seeming defensive or aggressive. The key is in the tone. If you ask this question with confrontational energy, as if you were saying, "How dare you?" You escalate the situation and may end up in an unproductive argument. But if you ask with genuine curiosity, almost as if you were genuinely interested in understanding the person's reasoning, something different happens. You create a space where the other person needs to justify an action that, deep down, they know is unjustifiable. And here comes a profound principle of Stoic wisdom. You cannot control what others say or do, but you can completely control how you respond. When you question the intention instead of defending yourself against the content, you are choosing not to play the game the other person has prepared. You are refusing the victim role they tried to assign you. You are saying implicitly but clearly, "I'm not going to dance to this tune." And that, my dear reader, is real power. It's the difference between reacting to external stimuli like a ventriloquist dummy and responding with the autonomy of someone who is fully in control of themselves. But understanding all of this leads us to an even more fundamental truth, one that underpins all these responses and needs to be deeply rooted within you. Let's get straight to the most important point of this whole discussion. You could have the perfect answer for every attack, you could master all the communication techniques in the world, but if deep down you still believe that the judgment of others determines your worth, you will remain vulnerable. Insecurity has this insidious characteristic of making you believe that you need the approval of others to validate your own existence. It's as if you carry an internal calculator that is constantly adding positive opinions and subtracting negative ones, trying to arrive at a total that tells you if you are good enough. But here is the liberating truth that the Stoics preached and that people of true wisdom eventually discover. The opinion of others about you is nothing more than a shadow. It only affects you if you decide to give it substance, if you choose to believe that it matters. And it doesn't matter. It never has. What matters is what you know about yourself, about your journey, about your intentions, and about your constant evolution. Think about this. How many people who judge you today by your past have their own skeletons in the closet? How many of them are projecting their own unresolved insecurities onto you? The answer is practically all of them. Human beings are notoriously imperfect, contradictory, and often hypocritical. So why should you hand over your emotional power, your inner peace, your self-confidence to creatures as fallible as you? When someone tries to imprison you in your past, they are revealing much more about their own unhealed wounds than about you. They are showing that they haven't processed their own pain, that they haven't learned to give people the same second chance they would certainly like to receive. The Stoics had an interesting practice. They imagined negative opinions as distant noises, like the sound of leaves being shaken by the wind. You hear it, you acknowledge that it exists, but you don't allow it to enter your home, to disturb your inner serenity. Because its value is not determined by popular consensus, it is not subject to voting. It's something intrinsic that comes from how you live your principles day after day. Here's the most liberating exercise you can do. Choose a criticism from your past that still bothers you when someone mentions it. Now ask yourself, if I knew with absolute certainty that I would never be able to change this person's opinion of me, would that change who I am today? The answer, if you're honest, is no. You would still be exactly the same person with the same values, the same achievements, the same lessons learned. Their approval or lack thereof neither adds nor detracts from your true worth. This is profoundly liberating when you truly absorb it. It means you can stop juggling trying to manage everyone's perception of you. You can stop wasting energy explaining, justifying, defending. You can simply live with dignity, make your choices based on your principles, treat people well not because you want approval, but because that's who you've chosen to be, and let everyone form their own opinion. Some will admire you, others will criticize you, most will completely ignore you because they are too busy with their own lives. And that's okay. More than okay, it's perfect. Because it means you've finally understood that your inner peace can't depend on the approval of an external world that changes its mind faster than you change your clothes. And when you truly internalize that, when it becomes part of your mental operating system, something magical happens in your interactions with people who try to attack you. There's a foolproof test to know if you've truly processed your past and reached a genuine level of emotional maturity. How you react when someone tries to use it against you. If you explode, if you become defensive, if you lose sleep rehashing the conversation, if you feel that heat rising in your chest and an uncontrollable urge to prove your point, that's a clear sign that there are still open wounds there, still unresolved insecurities. But if you can listen to the attack and respond with the same calm you would to someone commenting on the weather, you've achieved something precious. The serenity that comes from being completely at peace with your own history. And this serenity, more than any brilliant argument, is the ultimate proof of your evolution. Because anyone can seem mature when everything is going well and no one is questioning anything. True wisdom appears precisely in moments of pressure, when someone pokes at your old wounds expecting to see you bleed, and you simply don't bleed. Not because you're repressing emotions, but because you've genuinely healed. Calmness is not the absence of emotion, it's the presence of control over your emotions. When you respond calmly to an attack based on your past, you are demonstrating something far more convincing than 1,000 words of explanation ever could. You are showing that you have grown. You are proving through your present behavior that you are no longer the person who made that mistake. Because if you were, you would react impulsively, defensively, emotionally. But you are not. So you don't react, you respond. There is a crucial difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is automatic, impulsive, dictated by the emotions of the moment. Responding is deliberate, conscious, chosen. The Stoics dedicated significant time to practicing the skill of creating a space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your freedom. In that small interval, you can choose whether you will be swept away by the energy of the attack or whether you will keep your dignity intact. And you know what's interesting? When you choose serenity, you not only protect yourself, you also teach a silent but powerful lesson to the person who attacked you. Now, let's get to the practical application of this philosophy. How do you cultivate this serenity that seems almost supernatural when you see someone who possesses it? First, understand that serenity isn't something you simply decide to have in a moment of pressure. It's something you build through daily practice. Start with small, everyday irritations. That driver who cut you off in traffic, that passive-aggressive comment at work, that person who cut in line. Use these micro-opportunities to train your ability not to react immediately. Take a deep breath, create that space between stimulus and response, and consciously choose how you want to behave. Second, develop the habit of seeing the people who attack you not as enemies, but as individuals fighting their own internal battles. When someone needs to belittle you using your past, that person is clearly suffering in some way. Perhaps not as much as you have suffered, but enough to act that way. This doesn't justify the behavior, but it contextualizes it. And when you contextualize, it becomes easier to respond with compassion instead of anger. Third, always remember that every time you respond calmly to an attack, you are strengthening a neural circuit. You are literally training your brain to choose serenity. And over time, this becomes your default response, not a performance that requires Herculean effort.